Why I got you by yourself, girl?
I don't know. Don't leave me out here.
I want to show your pretty face.
Good evening. Good evening.
Hello, hello, hello. It's
Hey,
just us today.
hey, girl. Hey. In the words of
Hey,
Coldplay. Hey, girl. Hey.
hey. We ebony and ivory today
Yes.
for our special topic on top of that. So,
Yes.
how has your week been?
It's tomorrow's Thursday, so that's a plus. It was a short week. Work yesterday, work today. I mean tomorrow.
Oh, you had
Yeah,
President's Day.
yeah. I had President's Day, and then we had a teacher work day on Tuesday. Got to work from home. That was dope.
Nice. Okay, not the same for me. Just like that, not the same for me. But I'm so excited that it's Wednesday, headed into Thursday.
Yes.
So yeah, we're good. So, hey everyone out there, to our experienced family. You notice we're missing the chocolate for our double-sided cookie. Mr. Chocolate is under the weather today, so please send him some healing vibes so that he can feel better. He definitely will be back. So we have not switched anything up, just the regular cooties out there getting us one person at a time, one person at a time. So yeah. So our topic today is colorism, and the irony. I feel like we um, are like the two ends of a bookshelf in this conversation. So, for those of you who've seen Royal and I before, just the two of us, we are very conversational in our meetings. So, I'd like to start off with a little bit of my experience because I know some of my experience may be different, but yet the same as yours. Um, so I grew up in New York. I'm sure y'all can hear my accent. Okay,
She
I
from
grew up
New
in
York.
I'm a New Yorker. I grew up in New York, and around the time that I grew up, I think being a brown skinned girl was not the move, right? It just wasn't. And then I grew up to two of parents who were actually the darkest in a line of siblings that were very fair skinned. And so they were, especially my mother. Oh my gosh, we couldn't say things like good hair or, things like that. So being dark skinned or darker skinned, because I can hear my son saying, "You ain't dark skinned." Being darker skinned was a little challenging. My compliments were very filtered. You're cute for a dark skinned girl, or that color makes you look darker, or if I took a picture, I would have people like really putting light on me.
Mhm.
Kind of got light on me now, but you get what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
it was a big deal. Um, but I never wanted to be fair skinned. I just didn't understand why it was such a big thing to be fair skinned. Um, so my first interaction with being judged for being brown skin was, of course, liking a boy. um, and I won't say his name because he's still alive and well and could possibly be watching this. I don't know. But I was in the fifth grade and I thought this boy was just the bomb.com. It really was his southern charm that did it for me because he was from Georgia and he called our teacher ma'am and all this other stuff.
Okay.
And he was brown skinned too, but he had a whole conversation with me about how the expectation was for him to be with this other girl. She was cute, but the things that he brought up about her had everything to do with her skin. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah.
And that was the clique. It was the clique or the lighter Hispanic girls, which for those of you who don't know, I have Hispanic in me also, but the lighter Hispanic girls, and just the fair skinned girls. And one of the girls that I have to be her. She was like a bully. She was a butch, baby D. She looked like baby D. No, I'm serious. And don't laugh at me. She looked like baby, but it was because she was light skinned. And he told me, he was like, everyone would have a problem if he was with me because I was brown skinned, and my heart was so broken because he liked me, but he said he couldn't be my boyfriend because he had to be he had to be with the caramel girl. That's what he used to call her. And my feelings were hurt. I mean, obviously because the boy I like doesn't like me back, or can't felt like
Can't
he
can't
couldn't like me like that.
right.
But um I felt like something was wrong with me. And then so after that, I think I became more aware of being brown skin. Um, and most people have challenges with weight or hair or maybe a disability. Those were never big things for me. It was the complexion that I was. And I have lightened a little over the years, not bleach, and just life happens. You take better protective measures, but um, yeah, I just that was my first experience, and then as time went on, with others. So I would love to hear what your experience is because you're on the total opposite side of me.
So, and we're gonna go deeper in this
Oh yeah,
conversation.
we're gonna go deeper.
Deep, deep. But um, so for everybody that does not know, and for those that may need a refresher, um, I am a African American woman born with albinism, which is essentially I was born with minimal because I'm not completely white as a bed sheet. Clearly, well, I'm just
Clearly.
you got to find humor in it. Um, but yeah, so the thing is though, so that's why I say I do have some melanin to an extent, but essentially there is a lack of pigmentation, lack of melanin in my skin. So what I affectionately tell my students um, when I have a conversation with them, bringing them into the know of what albinism is, I say to them, I am what you look like, because I work with brown and black students, okay? So I tell them, I'm what you look like without your pretty brown skin.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope y'all heard me say pretty brown skin. No, because sometimes I feel like if I did have pigment, a little bit more melanin in my skin, I would be a lighter brown.
Got you. Be caramel.
I just a little bit. So,
Little
um,
caramel.
yeah, more caramel than vanilla.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. So, my experience is very much different because of the fact that I get colorism. Lord, I got to find humor in it. I get colorism from my own people who think that I am white, or they don't know what to do with me.
Gotcha.
As far as even interaction, it's like it's awkward. It's like I don't know what to say to you. It's weird. Anyway, moving forward. Then on the flip side of it, from my Caucasian family, and I say family, but
Yep.
because we love everybody, for my Caucasian family, um, in society, if I talk to them in the doctor mode and I'm very articulate and enunciating, and I try to make sure I don't use any colloquialisms or any type of ebonic, if you will. If I keep it here, then it's like, huh, okay, she's white.
Mm-hmm.
But if I ever slip up and be like, you know what?
The melanin comes.
So when I go outside of that box, it's like, okay, is she mixed or is she married to a black person? So
Gotcha.
yeah, so it's really really unique. And For those that don't know, oftentimes people who are born with albinism, we are package deal. I tell people, what you see, this is a total package. The blonde hair, that's mine, not dyed, not bought. This is mine. Okay. Um, and so you get the blonde hair, you get um, astigmatism, astigmatism, and for many of us, a nystagmus.
Mhm.
So, what that is, most people know what astigmatism is, because astigmatism is when you need to pull yourself closer. My beautiful friend Pearl was just talking about the fact she can't see. So, her vision is changing. So,
Yeah.
for me, having to have something close, that's always been the case. Okay.
Mhm.
But nystagmus is where our eye muscles,
Really.
I
It
don't know.
says we only black on Saturday and Sunday.
Right. So the thing is, with nystagmus, I tell people who are old enough to remember the Knight Rider, the kit car, woo 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 woo. Right. So our eyes will shift because of the muscles not being strong enough, which impacts our visual acuity. And so that is why many of us wear glasses or need contacts and things of that sort, because our vision is impaired. Now, so when you was talking about the stigma attached to you being brown, brown complexion, not from a disability or like I have it all. So I'm getting pow pow pow. I'm getting karate chopped from every
From
every
every
direction.
direction.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because in school I had to have large print books. I tried to make sure I didn't use those at all because I was very self conscious. I'm already getting pow from my peers, some of my peers, not all of my peers, but
Mhm.
from some of my peers because I look different and I can't see. So it was a bit much. But then I just learned how to compensate in other areas, which led me down a slippery slope of some other things that we'll talk about as far as being able to cope and deal with society.
So, did you get bullied for being
To
um
to an extent, to an extent, not super bad, but yeah, I did get some bullying. Um, but I really didn't pay a whole lot of attention into it in that sense. Um, but for the for those, I'm sorry, y'all, I have to laugh because it's funny. It wasn't funny then. It's really not funny, but you get older and a lot of stuff is humorous. Um, but I've said this on the show before, but my coping mechanism was the punani. And so what I would do is if a female really didn't care for me and had, as we young people say, had some beef with me, had a little stink with me. Okay, I'm gonna show you what I'm working with because I would throw it at your man because men don't turn down punani, and so then I give you a reason to be mad at me. So that was
Is
the
that really how you coped with it?
yeah, for the most part.
Did it make
I
you feel
was
better?
I ain't give a yeah,
Oh, okay.
I ain't
Okay.
give a fuck what you do that.
Okay.
It didn't mean anything to me other than
But see, you know what's funny? I did the complete opposite. It made me withdraw and always be self-conscious with
really.
men. Oh my god, absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. It made me self-conscious. Well, also because so I had a grandmother that looks like, and I'm not being funny. I love that she looked like that, but I had a
Yeah,
grandmother that looked like, like how they showed the color version of the Harriet Tubman picture.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
She looked like that to me, white
Okay.
hair and whatever. And she would always tell me that because I'm dark skinned, dirtiness shows more on me, spiritual dirtiness, whatever, right?
Right.
And so she would always say, make sure your teeth are white so that your gums look, whatever. And if
Yeah.
you sleep around with people and you're dirty and you pick up their spirits, you're going to get darker and darker because the
Oh
spirit.
wow.
So I withdrew because I felt like girls. men, whatever, were being nasty to me about something I couldn't change. There's nothing I could do about it. Even though in my culture and in African culture
Yeah.
and West Indian culture, they will literally bleach their skin.
Right.
That's something that, and I'm not saying I would, but that's something I didn't know about because my mom would really get on my tail if I go, oh, why am I so dark? Why am I da, da, da? She'd get mad at me from
Wow.
her own experiences.
Right. Right.
So I did the total opposite. You told me I was like, so let me show you. Like you're saying, you were walking up, like, let me show you. Your man like it, even though you don't like it. I'd be like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's nothing I could do to change that. Let me just
I
back
got you.
up. I think I overcompensated though with hobbies, talents. Like you're gonna say I'm not good enough because I'm so brown, but I could sing, I could dance, I could write, I could run, I could play
Right.
ball, right? I would
Yeah.
overcompensate that way. So a
Yeah.
little different because in my mind I was so scared. Oh no, I wouldn't say so scared, so worried to look dirty or to be darker. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I will say that my beginning years,
Mm-hmm.
because I was in a very I'm gonna say controlled environment. Control.
Hey,
Hey y'all. Hey boo.
Rada.
Um. So I was in a very controlled environment, and I say it was controlled because the students that attended this special school had um, visual impairments or some other um, disability that impacted them from being able to attend public school. Okay, and back then when I was in elementary school, a long time ago, y'all. During those years, special education services weren't what they are today. Okay, so so for me, I was around other beautiful women today. I was around other beautiful women who look like me. And
Mm.
I thought they were super dope because they were older than me. And they probably don't even know that I looked up to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're Facebook friends now.
Aw.
But I did. I always thought that these two in particular, young ladies, I thought they were so super dope. Um,
Mhm.
and so uh, because of the fact that I saw that and I was around that, I didn't feel quote unquote odd. It wasn't until I went into the public school system, came back home, and that's when, I'm gonna say reality kind of set in as far
Yeah.
as how to navigate and move within the culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the other thing that for me, and I still see it now, is so I have friends and family that are just men and women that are just this beautiful chocolate
Yeah.
man or woman, right? But it's almost like they're overlooked because of that. I mean, now it's a little more acceptable. You can look at models and they're just like
Yeah.
this really deep. But I have watched a lot of people over my lifetime. I said that like I'm like 90 years old, but
So you
over
are.
my lifetime, get overlooked because they are brown skinned. I come from a culture where they push the fair skinned people forward and pull the dark skinned people back, even when they show the country. They go into the part of the country to show how poor, and it's
Yeah.
like they find the darkest people in the village and put them on the camera. Um, so usually, if someone is aware, they go, "Hey, I have Dominican in me." They go, "Well, how did that happen?"
Oh,
And I'm just like, "Oh, they're brown skinned Dominicans."
there are.
Yeah, but again, it's not something that you see all the time. So I have another story actually about that. I always got stories. So I remember in high school, I had a crush on this guy. Oh God, I thought he was so cute. And I think he liked me too, but I think he was always, and I find this happening, always chasing the fair skinned girl, the fair skinned Hispanic girl. And I remember one day he was like, "Oh, I only like girls who are this, that, and third." He's like breaking it down. And my friend was like, "Erica's that. What does that mean?" And he had no response for that. And that's also the reality of you're not the complexion that he wants. Because it wasn't a you're ugly, it wasn't a you're not my type, it was that's what I want. So honestly speaking, I personally I love myself. I have my insecurities. I'm not saying I don't, but
Hmm.
I do often find myself realizing that even though a man is attracted to me, they go for that fairer skin. Look, does that make sense?
No, it does. And so when for me, um, when I think about colorism in the sense of a social construct,
Mm-hmm.
and this has been a conversation forever and ever, but I really do strongly believe that all of this stuff is rooted in slavery.
Absolutely.
Slavery, whether it is slavery of African slaves who later became African
Yeah.
American, right? Um, and then the shift in the diversity of our our blackness, our color,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
due to ancestral rape that took place
Yep.
amongst our
Yep.
ancestors. But with that being said, friend, we also cannot negate the fact that this also happened within our Caribbean culture, our West.
Absolutely.
So
And it still
it
exists
still
very
exists.
much.
Ab-
Yes.
Absolutely. So, so that's where we parallel with
Mm-hmm.
one another in that regard. And so when we start thinking about that and the mindset that it created, a special, well, I'm gonna say specifically for women, and then I'm gonna touch on men
Mm-hmm.
because men also deal with colorism. They don't
Absolutely.
necessarily talk about it. Um, at least I don't believe they do. If there are any men out there, please feel free to chime in,
Mm-hmm.
because we would love to hear your perspective as far as colorism is concerned. But we as women, we openly have dialogue about colorism.
Absolutely. But we do that to each other. So two
Yes, we
stories real
do.
quick. You know I got a story for everything.
Yeah,
Two stories
sure.
real so one, it's just like how we go, hey, this person's acting real light skinned. I always wonder to myself, how does a light skinned person feel? How does a fairer skinned person feel hearing that you're acting real light skinned?
Oh, you're
Um,
acting white.
or you're acting white. But I know I keep talking about the browner skin, and
Yeah.
I have dealt with that a lot because my two of my three children are darker than
Hmm.
I am, and they've gone through a lot in school. But I had another a sister friend that I love dearly. Haven't seen her for a while, but I remember in high school, she's very fair skinned, beautiful young lady, freckles, everything. Well, she would buy sprays to try to make herself darker, but it is be almost like she's disappointed because it just would not give her that chocolatey look that she wanted or the browner look that she wanted. And
Right.
she would go from an orange to a not a real brown where it kind of looked like she got leather on her skin.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at her like, dudes are over here drooling over you because you're just so beautiful. But she didn't feel like that. She felt like she looked washed out, or I guess she felt like she didn't belong because she was words that they used to use, light bright.
Right. Right.
But even to this day, when she posts pictures or people see her, people are they don't even need to know what's coming out her mouth. They're just so drawn to her. Do I feel like she's a beautiful person? Yes, but I definitely have seen girls get attention just because she's fairer skin.
Mm.
And and I think it's funny that she was always striving to be more brown in her complexion in comparison to where some darker people are trying to be fairer. I also hold the same to be true. Like people are, and please Beehive, do not come after me, okay?
All
But
right.
people are always like, Beyonce, 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 oh my gosh, she's so beautiful, and she's not ugly. But Kelly Rowland to me is the one. Kelly Rowland is just a chocolate queen. Like she is black excellent. Like she looks beautiful to me. I don't even hold a candle to Beyonce when Kelly comes on screen. You know what I mean? Like I just don't. But then I have to remember, I've been so conditioned to love my brown. There is a part of me that rejects the fairer skin where, I felt I was rejected for being brown. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but let's get back to the educated part of this stuff.
No,
Right?
you're straight. No, you're good. You're
Um,
good.
I definitely think that it's another label because remember we talking about labels before to keep us divided,
Yeah.
right? Scientifically, outside of albinism, there is no difference between a fair skinned black person and a brown skinned black person. It's just the biggest difference scientific. I have more melanin up against my skin. Your melanin is in like maybe the fourth layer of your skin, or
Right.
because we have nine.
That's right.
Um, right? So I can have, and I'm making up numbers now, I can have 80% melanin, and a fair skin person can have 80% melanin, but it's just at a lower level of their skin, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we want to get scientific. But we have been generationally brainwashed to believe
Yes.
the closer to white we are, the cleaner, the better. I heard this today, the complexion of protection, like it's just the better thing to be. Um, hey, you were fair skinned because you got to be inside the house. I was brown skinned, so I had to stay outside the house. But in actuality, we're both being mistreated in a different way.
Absolutely.
So is it something that I feel that we struggle with on both sides? Yes, but we're so busy trying to compare and compete. We never stop and realize we're literally destroying each other within our race first
Right.
from that colorism. Um, but then it happens outside, right?
Yeah.
Um, think about like if you see us in the news, they pick the whitest black person they can, you know what I mean, to put on the screen. But yeah, I mean, I'm going on and on, but yeah,
No, you're fine. Because, but
it says I don't like light skinned dudes. And then the other
and
one says Morris Chestnut or Shamar. Oh, Morris Chestnut,
you know
100%.
what? I'm gonna tell you. I'll take
Hmm.
either one, but I'm gonna tell you that what gets both of them have very nice bodies. I mean, I'm not even focused because to me, both of them are beautiful men, just downright handsome. Period. Point blank. But their body is pow pow pow. So yeah. So on a scale, they are equal with me personally. Um, and,
Well,
and I
it's
don't.
not just their complexion, right?
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with their complexion.
Yeah.
Um,
For
but
me, it's because Shamar Moore is too much of a. He's so pretty.
so okay, so pause. So
I mean, are you
no,
asking?
no, 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 you're good. No, because mm, I will say that I tend to, like, if I'm watching television,
Mm-hmm.
different TV shows, for the sake of conversation, and I will say even when I'm out in public, sometimes I can look at certain females, brown skin or light skin, because I've seen both sides, and they just walk around like their booty don't stink. I don't know how else to describe it,
You're right. Listen, you
but it's
being nice
like
about
it's
it,
like yes, baby, you are beautiful, but why are you acting like your your doo doo don't stink? And
and that makes them ugly within themselves.
it makes them ugly to me. Um, and again, it's male or female. I don't discriminate. Yeah. So, and I think that for me, my husband might get me. But one thing that my husband and I we watch when we watch movies or whatever, or just talking about stuff, and I might bring up a actor or somebody's name, and he'll be like, "That light skinned MF,"
Yep. Yep. Yep.
and I'm
Yep.
like, "Husband, you realize, because you know you've met my husband,
Yeah.
you realize that you ain't too far from that light skin." Like, how can you refer to him? And I always find it very interesting when we have these narratives and these perceptions of us based upon skin tone. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just it's just so interesting to me. And I don't know, again, well, I do know it does have a lot to do with the way that we were conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Um, Now, in this generation, these what are these are the alpha generation.
Alpha.
These little
Mhm.
babies, they some interesting characters. Because no, I'm serious.
I know you are.
Because they really don't have a sense of any historical context, unless their parent, who is, pause, unless, let me go, because unless their grandparent, let me be clear, unless their grandparent has instilled in their mother and father some
Yeah.
historical
Yeah.
context,
Yep.
our alpha generation has no sense of anything that we're talking about right now.
Now, is that a good thing or is it a bad thing?
That's not a good thing. I mean, pause. It's not a good thing from the sense of understanding our history.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it it can be a good thing because now we don't have this "I'm light skinned, you're dark skinned" kind of conversation going on
Okay.
anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Or it's minimal. Let me put it in that context.
Okay.
But um, but for us, for our Gen X's and our Gen Z's, like, we really have a lot of unpacking that we really need
Mm-hmm.
to do, and have some courageous, crucial
Conversation.
conversations. Courageous and crucial, because we got to be uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
in having these conversations by being respectful but transparent, right? But also, um it's crucial, because if we don't stop this barrier that we have amongst one another, then how can we stand up against um those who are trying to suppress us?
Yeah, but that's also redefining things like what is beautiful, what is clean, what is our definitions are based on the labels that shackle us, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Whether we realize it or not. And the reason why I kind of brought up that friend that I told you is very fair
Yeah.
skinned is, when we make those jokes like, oh, they acting light skinned. Why is she doing that? Oh, because she light skinned. It's bothering somebody, right? It's not funny to the
Right.
fairer skinned person. It's not
Right.
funny, just like I said, I grew up in a family where my dad and my mom is the darkest, which turned out to make us almost the darkest as well, meaning my brother and I. It's the same that holds true when someone goes into a family, which I'm sure you understand,
Yeah.
and you're like super fair skinned and all your family comes together and now here's all these melanated people.
Right.
Um, it happens and I'm just like, well, what's the difference if I shun you because you're fair skinned and you shun me because I'm browner skinned? Aren't we just two hurt shun people? Or we
Absolutely.
shun people? So
Yeah.
my there are things that are conditioned in us that we don't realize till we actually pause and really think of it. And I think colorism is a huge factor.
Yeah.
I grew up in a day and age where the insult was you're an African booty scratcher.
I remember that.
They didn't tell fair skinned people that. That was for dark skinned people.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Now everyone's pro Africa. You know what I mean? So I
And
also
it,
grew up. Go ahead.
no, it was, I was going to say that even for me, piggybacking off of your comment right then about being pro Africa, I personally, to each their own, because I know some friends who have um, visited various parts of Africa. I personally, and y'all can say, "Hey, doc, that's some ignorant stuff that you just said," and it may be, and I no, I'll eat that. Okay, I will. But I'm gonna tell y'all, I personally have no desire. My husband and I, we've had this conversation. collectively have no desire to visit no parts of Africa.
And that's fine. What's wrong with that? Why is that
So
bad to say?
no, and because my rationale is because of the mass killings and um harm that is taking place in various parts of countries in Africa when it comes to individuals who are born with albinism,
Okay.
and the whole concept of we have some mythical power. And again, this is conversation people don't like to talk about, dark
Hmm.
spirits and magic and stuff. Y'all, it's anyway. I was about to say it is
You was
real.
about to go.
I was, but in my opinion, it's very real. That's me, and that's my thought. So I personally have no desire to visit no parts of Africa at
Gotcha.
all. And
That
and
doesn't mean
and
that's
I've
your.
done ancestry. I know that 60% of my lineage comes from the Congo area.
Nice.
So if anybody ever questions, you ain't black. Look, ancestry. What they say? Um,
It's
I'm
okay.
very
As
much
soon as you start talking, they'll know.
yeah.
But so do you think that colorism is something that we can get out of within our culture first? Because we have to change us first before we can ask others to change, or before we can expect others to change.
Until we are comfortable in our uncomfortableness, addressing our bias, and you said it a moment ago, getting in tune with your own personal bias, and being real with it. um until that happens, and you have a collective body. And when I say a collective body, a pet peeve of mine, when I hear Black Girl Magic or Black Girl Magic used to come on television, the awards, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep, yep.
I used to tell my husband all the time, where is someone that looks like me? I see
Mm.
the pretty you, I see the pretty Beyonces.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the black woman that looks like me?
Yes.
And every now and again, you'll see some photos and stuff, and somebody will throw a photo of a beautiful woman, who is African American, but she has albinism, and just gorgeous to me, just simply gorgeous. But when is she ever going to be on a TV?
Yeah. I got you.
When is she ever going to get some limelight so that our little girls who may not, um because it seems like it's a lot of us out in the world, but it's really not. It really is not. Um, but when are these young ladies going to see someone that's positive, so that they can grow up and be comfortable and not make the poor decisions because of the fact that they feel ashamed of what their skin complexion is? Like you said, we can't help that. We can't help how
We
we were
can't.
born.
We
We
can't.
can't. And
But we can help how we define beauty or being
absolutely,
handsome or things like
absolutely,
that. But
absolutely.
we also buy into that. And when you look at things like you were talking about movies and
Yeah,
television, the the bad guy always looks a certain way, right?
correct.
The
Yeah, we're
cool.
demons. If you ever see any no, I'm dead
I know
ass.
I'm laughing because
No,
you're
no,
right
no.
on it. That was my point. Like I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah,
Um so yeah. I don't think that a change is possible big picture. I think it has to be small steps of redefining what beauty
absolutely.
is. Even if you look like in corporate America, it's so hard to find darker men and or women.
It is.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've seen a shift in that.
Okay.
and maybe it depends on the sector, okay,
Okay.
um, of industry. But I have seen a shift in that. I am truly seeing more diversity in certain, um,
Areas.
mm-hmm, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
And
I
and more female,
ooh.
honestly, than male. Now I don't know what that's about. I would love for someone to chime in on that. But I see more black women moving and elevating in the workplace, um to reach, that executive level or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
versus black men.
Yeah. I think I haven't in my
Okay.
sector. That doesn't mean that it's not in other sectors. I From my experience, some of the things that challenge is um the fairer skinned employees seem to be more, acceptable. I find oftentimes the darker skinned employees, if they get upset, it's always they're angry, they have an
Yes,
attitude.
I would agree.
Um, but when the fairer skin, even though they may have an attitude or whatever, it's just easier to digest from their other colleagues. Um,
I agree.
I don't really understand it, but it's something I experienced myself. Like, I'm not mad, I'm not upset. I'm expressing myself. Yet I can get a colleague that's fairer skinned or that's not black to repeat the same thing. They may even throw a pen across the room
Yeah.
and it will be accepted. And I did have a colleague who's a white male that I respect very much
Hmm.
tell me I can walk into a meeting, meaning him, and
Yes.
say whatever it is that he needs to say, and his colleagues accept it, even if he's a little angry, but he is aware it's because he's a white male. He literally said that, and he said sometimes it's about taking the narratives that you've been giving out of the equation and just really listening to what that person has to say. What I took by that is there is a conscious or subconscious conditioning that there's a certain look that goes with being angry or being violent or being, whatever it
Hmm.
is. So
But it's also, honestly, I say that I think it's also an an attitude.
okay.
Okay. um because as he just said, how the how the message is delivered. Case in point, if if as a darker skinned woman, if you, I'm i I'm gonna say it this way. Don't take it the wrong way, but I know you won't.
I don't.
If you were not so New York, your accent,
Absolutely.
scale it down.
Hmm.
Um,
Make my eyes smaller.
yeah, yeah.
Don't go big when you're
Don't
upset.
don't go big, and keep, because I talk with my hands a lot,
Hmm.
but keep your hand gestures at a minimum. That is, y'all, and I know y'all, this sounds very racist, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but it's reality, okay? Um, but if you speak with with a specific tone and a
Yes,
certain
it's called
attitude,
what is that? Code switching.
code switching. If
Hmm.
you do that, even as a dark skinned woman or a darker skinned woman or darker skinned man, if you can conduct yourself in that manner, they'd be like, "Oh shoot,
Yeah, and
okay," and
it
it
sounds
truly
messed up,
will
but
be
it's true.
received. It'll be received,
Yeah.
and I'll take it a step further and say it'll be damn near revered.
I'm
Be-
going to confirm from my own experiences with an environment that is mainly Caucasian.
yes, ma'am.
If you speak and approach in a submissive way,
Correct.
then it will be taken better than not.
Right.
Um, because the hand gesture, uh-oh, she's getting violent, she's angry. The New York that I cannot
I
control.
know you can't control it. Yeah.
Cannot control it. It's almost like, oh, she's ready to fight. Um, and the reason why I'm saying, you may say it sounds bad, I've experienced literally saying blah 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 whatever, and
Yeah.
watching another colleague
See.
literally snap, get loud, and go, oh, he's stressed. Literally. So I think a lot of that is, again, what is our definition of what beautiful is? What is our definition of what angry is? What is our definition of, what certain things are? Because here's the other thing. I could not talk with my hands and stay still and start crying, and it's still
And I will say that from a colorism standpoint, um, though,
really.
no, because I get tickled. I told you I found a lot of life stuff. Very, y'all better start laughing at a whole lot of stuff that keeps you young. Um, if if Pearl and I go out and we're at a restaurant, say Pearl is up bothered by some customers, okay, and she starts getting vocal, they will be quick to boot you out
Mm-hmm.
before they boot me out,
I agree.
even though we're sitting at the same table. So I'm gonna tell you what I do, fam. This is what I do, girlfriend. No, dead ass. So when my husband and I are out, if I feel like, because he's so Baltimore, I love him, but he is so Baltimore. It's a northern thing. So when he gets right, he gets right. And what I would tell him, and because we've been together forever, so he'll say, "Babe, I need you to handle this." Or either if I see it escalating, I'll tell him, "Babe, I got this." Because in that moment, I can go and I can talk just like this. I'm so sorry, but this is what's going on. And I really am disturbed by what's happening.
So do you think that if you're brown skin, that wouldn't work?
No,
Interesting.
because I'm damn near white.
So,
And I'm
so
not being funny. I'm being
no,
like, we're
I'm
having a
really
serious
asking you.
conversation. Yes.
So, do you feel your life would be different if you had the melanin that you don't have right now? Like, meaning opportunities, interactions. I mean, I understand the whole concept
No,
of
I
you just go
got
out and
you.
get your own opportunities. I get
No,
that too.
I think that I think my life would have been different. Um, and one thing that my father taught me as a child is he said, "Babe, girl, nobody will know what your race is unless you tell them.
Mm-hmm.
So use it to your advantage and get where you're trying to get to." And I've done
Gotcha.
just that. Now, the older I've gotten, my patience has gotten very thin. And my tolerance for foolery, that's the nice word. Y'all understand the other word that begins with the F. My tolerance for that kind of stuff has shifted. So now, um, at times, I can code switch, but then at other times, it just I pop out. Okay, I'm gonna say it that way. I pop out, and when I pop out, it throws people off. Um, and so I try to. At this point in my life and where I'm trying to go, I'm trying to figure out how to maneuver and get back to being here.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to do that because of a lot of different factors. But yes, absolutely, positively, the light skin, my my Dominican press helps. Absolutely, it sure does, and I ain't even gonna lie in front about it. It sure does, and I wouldn't necessarily trade it for anything because it does have its advantage, and
Okay.
I know that for a fact.
I would sort of agree. I think mine is a little different. I am I have more gratitude for growing up north.
Mhm.
Because I never, and I think I said this a little early, I never understood huge differences between the light skin and dark skin until obviously somebody said something to me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was surrounded with so many beautiful brown skin,
Yeah.
dark brown, like the majority of my community
Was
were like,
great.
was
Yeah.
brown,
Right.
right? So my definition of beauty comes from a brown,
Absolutely.
right? Like when people go, well, what kind of guy do you like? I mean, I want a guy, now I'm older, I want a guy that treats me right, blah 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 blah. But oof, a chocolate man, because my dad was chocolate, so that was what I saw. So because my parents fought so much in their childhood to be accepted in a country that put fair skinned people
Mhm.
ahead, I've always been fed that. Now, as I got older and I moved down south, um, the definition of beauty has changed because it seems like people want you to be the Beyonce, and I don't mean body,
I
the
know what you're
fair
saying. Yeah, the
woman.
fair skin. Yeah.
What is it? Beyonce, Black China, whatever her name is, Angela, that's her name now, not Black China, sorry. But the definition of beauty is leaning towards what's fairer. Sew some blonde hair into your head, put some contacts into your eyes. And I'm not saying that doesn't exist up north. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying my experience, I'm glad I got it from up north because I think I would have some deeper self hate, self questioning about my beauty because I wasn't light skinned or I didn't look like the televised Dominican person, or I'm not mixed. I used to have Caucasian friends that say Caucasian people want to have a baby with black people because mixed babies are beautiful and blah
Yep.
blah blah. You get the best of both worlds, and I'm just like, what's what's wrong with just a black baby? I don't understand.
Hello. Right. A-
Right?
And yes. And I will say for me, um, because of the fact that there are times, to be honest with you, where I don't feel like I fit in either place. Even even at the age of soon to be 50, I don't fit in. Um, and when I don't fit in, guess where doctor is? At the house.
So do you struggle with the definition of beauty because of that?
Sometimes, because
Hmm.
I'm not one that feels like I need to wear makeup. To each their own. You know, there are women, um, look across the color line of of our blackness, right?
Hmm.
Some of us really are into the whole makeup. Girl, I ain't got time. I do not have time for all of this right here. Mm-mm. Y'all see this? This the
I
best you're
got
gonna
one
get.
too.
Yeah,
Hmm.
this every now and again, if I'm going out and I just want to be dolled up, or if I know I'm going to be taking pictures for something special, whatever, like I'll actually put foundation and the
Oh yeah,
rouge and
no, I
all of
don't do
this.
it. This
Yeah.
is as good as it get, like some Asta.
Oh no, no, I'll hook
Mhm.
it up a little tiny bit. But as far as like truly having my face beat, negative. Ain't got time, because I have what I define as natural beauty. But with that being said, because of the fact that I feel like I don't fit in sometimes on either side, when it comes to dating, which I'm not dating, obviously, but
You old in your marriage, so I got you.
well, but my thing is, if I was dating, I don't feel like I would meet a quality person because I don't fit in. Period. I'm
And
not
what's
interested
fitting in though?
because I don't because I'm not interested. I think there are some very handsome white men. God knows there are. There are y'all. Some of y'all look real, real delicious,
Some
but
of that vanilla is good. No,
yeah,
I'm
some
messing.
of them will look really good. But that's not my cup of tea. I've never
Yeah.
been into a white man. But when it comes to my brothers, because I don't fit in, and that's why I keep using it in that context, because I don't fit in, they don't know how to approach me, and or they don't think that I'm attractive.
So is that your definition of beauty you think is a barrier, or
No,
our,
I'm
meaning
cool
black?
with me. It's y'all definition of me.
Gotcha. I'm
If
just
that,
saying.
no, if that makes sense, is
No,
y'all
it makes complete
definition.
sense because there's so many, and I'm sure it's in every culture.
And
But
same thing for and same thing for our African American men who were born with albinism.
yeah,
Okay, it, and I got a young man. Oh, I can't call his name, but anyway, but he's up north. Um, I want to say baby boy is in the Minneapolis area, if memory serves me correctly, and he constantly on Facebook. One minute he's with somebody, and then the next minute, I say next minute, but
yeah,
later he'll he'll post like, I can't find anybody, nobody, is true to true to a committed relationship and stuff like that, and it drains him emotionally.
and he has albinism.
And he's a
So
very
you
nice
think
young
it's
man.
because of his albinism?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
So I feel within our culture, again, even though it's probably in every culture, there's so many pockets of what beautiful is,
Yeah.
but never a real definition. Very superficial, very fantasy, very.
Beauty comes from inside. That's me.
Yeah, but people
So
don't know
to
because
answer your
if we,
question,
yeah,
to me, beauty comes from the inside, and it explodes outwardly.
yeah, I think the question I'm trying to formulate is it our self definition of beauty that explodes to the, like we might think, oh, they don't want us. For example, you talking about the gentleman. Oh, there's an issue with me because of my albinism, but maybe the insecurity prevents you from empowering yourself because of, and I'm not just talking about, I just used him as an example. It could be me too, Brown, whatever.
Yeah.
Because I can say that there are small crippling labels I feel I still carry with myself because of my brown skin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, he just want her because she's light skinned, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many you could break down, but it's
Mm-hmm.
again the labels you've been given. I know plenty of beautiful, very, very melanated women that struggle in dating for the same exact reason you said.
Because they're too dark.
Mhm.
Got you. Yeah.
I know a lot of them, and they're beautiful. They're smart. Some of them got banging bodies too. So it's not that. It's just the definition of beauty is so convoluted
Yep.
that we're not only being rejected, we're rejecting ourselves.
Yep.
So, I mean, do I think that there's issues like this in other cultures? Probably just different umbrella stuff. So,
Yeah. Probably.
um, so how
Yeah.
do we get past it?
I don't know, and I will also bring up the fact that um that even within our divine nine, historically, there was this division with the
Hmm.
brown paper bag test to get into.
Oh yeah, I heard about
I
that.
mean, so it is so, this whole conversation and is so deep. Um,
Mhm.
and I hate that it's just you and I, and not multiple people having this dialogue to get their perspective. But it's just a very interesting topic. And so, to answer your question, how do we move this dialogue? We need to have some fireside chats,
Gotcha.
and
Some
have
hard truths. Some hard truths.
yeah, and just have some hard truths. And to your point earlier, you said kind of start out small and let it infect and grow. Absolutely.
I got you. Well, I think that, the saying beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I feel that's absolutely true. I just wish it didn't have that little in parentheses, right? It also is what defines us without us paying attention. Like, that's meant to be like, hey, I could think you're beautiful, someone else doesn't think you're beautiful, but instead it's that person who doesn't think you're beautiful defines you more. than
Right.
the one that does. And that, I think, is the issue with colorism. We all feel like we're beautiful in our own right, but the definition that has been created, the label that has been created, makes you, my my ivory queen, right, feel like something's wrong with you. But yet me over here being ebony is just like, well, something's wrong with me.
Hmm.
We're both fighting the same
The
battle.
same battle.
The
Right.
same battle, it just looks different. And I hate that for our people. I hate that for us because we're just so much deeper than just a skin color. And I think that we're stuck there, you know?
And that's why the whole uh, Black Power movement, if you will, during the 60s and 70s, but specifically the 60s, was so vital because you had all colors
Mm-hmm.
saying, my black is beautiful. I'm
Yeah.
black and I'm proud. Young, gifted, and black, with Nina. You know what I'm saying? Like, like we needed that. And so today, I think that is still true. We need to continue to hear these messages so that we don't continue to perpetuate this idea that I'm not beautiful or you're
Yeah.
not beautiful.
So
Yes,
affirming our blackness, no matter what the
absolutely.
blackness looks like. Yeah.
Right, right.
I agree. But again, we need to start small. Sometimes, what they say, the revolution isn't televised, but
Revolution is something.
when it is, it'll be because we had a lot of fireside chats that
This
brought
was
us
a
together.
fireside chat.
So yeah, this was nice. I enjoyed talking to you, sister friend. um,
Likewise.
so thank you for all of you that joined us today at the experience. Again, shout out to Mr. Chocolate. Hope he feels better.
Yes.
And shout out to the ladies of the experience also. They were a little under the weather, so they couldn't pop in with us either. If you have not liked today, I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm going to say here's a reminder that something positive to do on this wonderful Wednesday would be to like and subscribe, um, and join us. We have plenty of more topics. We might visit this topic again where we get more insight. I also want to say thank you to those of you who are writing in. I'm getting a plethora of letters, and I look forward to sharing them with all of you. And once again, thank you for joining the experience, where the experience is always good. Have a good night, fam.
Good night, guys.